Welcome back to Sky Stories with Catherine. Today's episode is a sensitive but important topic. The recent incident on Ibom Air, where a passenger physically assaulted a cabin crew member after refusing to turn off her phone. What followed was a forceful removal from the aircraft, which unfortunately left the passenger exposed, sparking a debate on whether proper protocols were followed. We are not here to trivialize the event. Instead, we are going to break it down from the professional aviation standpoint, looking at standard operating procedures for dealing with unruly passengers, what tools and resources should have been available, where this particular incident may have deviated from protocol, and how such situations should have been handled to protect the dignity of the passenger and the crew. To help unpack this, I'm joined with three highly experienced aviation professionals, Mr. Tony Ukachukwu, CEO Aviators Africa. Also, Madam Tolulope Dawodu, popularly known as Mrs. D, Aviation Training Facilitator. And last but not the least, Mr. Emmanuel Edem, Cabin Crew Training Instructor and Public Speaking and Communication Skills Coach. These are veteran cabin crew with decades of combined flying experience, including handling passenger disruptions around the world. Let's get started. All right, let's talk about standard operating procedure for dealing with unruly passenger. Mrs. D, let's start with you. What do you think? Do you think the cabin crew followed procedure?
First, I'd like to say what really are standard operating procedures. Aviation is highly regulated, and that's one thing that a lot of people don't seem to realize. And so for everything you do, there's standard operating procedures. And for this particular case, there were definitely standard operating procedures. First and foremost, you need to be able to identify a situation that could degenerate into a disruptive passenger. And once you've identified that, okay, this is what's likely to happen with this person, your goal should be to de-escalate it.
Exactly.
By whatever means possible. You can communicate to the person, try to explain the reason why this is what has to be done. You know, try to pacify, do everything possible to make sure that you are de-escalating the situation, because it becomes unpleasant after that. If that doesn't work, of course, you're expected to, you know, escalate to the flight deck. Once the flight deck gets to know about it, then they do the business with, if it's during the flight, they reach out to the control tower. The control tower informs AFSEC, and AFSEC meets the aircraft on arrival. Now, it's the responsibility of AFSEC now to come on board. If the person, you come on board and you want to offload that person and the person is not coming down, you know, quietly, then what you need to do is use physical force. That's basically.
From what we saw in the video, you know, it was the airline's personnel that was, you know, dragging the passenger from the aircraft, and AFSEC actually came later, you know. So I don't know if that was a nice situation. Why was AFSEC not available?
Well, I don't know how it's played out in this particular scenario, but there's a possibility that they most likely did not call for security to meet the aircraft on time. If they had called early enough, I believe AFSEC should have been waiting for that aircraft so that as the passengers disembark, they are there to handle the situation. As it's been done on several flights that I have been on as a crew, it wouldn't have had to get to the point where the cabin crew would need to physically restrain, you know, stop the passenger from coming on board. All you needed to do, if AFSEC was around, is to point out the passenger. As the passenger disembarks, AFSEC takes over from there.
Exactly. So are we not supposed to have, as in from procedure, from what I know, maybe I'm rusted now, but from procedure, when the aircraft arrives, AFSEC will be waiting. The passenger that is unruly will be deboarded or disembarked first before the other passengers, you know, disembark. But in this situation, it looked like it was the opposite that happened.
I think what happened is that I think viewers should also understand that there are levels of disruption. I think why the pilot did not call for security upon arrival was because it has not degenerated to the level I think it was still at the first level, which was verbal disruption, where the passenger was just cursing. And I think that could, just like Mrs. Diaz said, that could be de-escalated. So I think it was upon landing that it quickly just went from
around
Spiral.
just
physical.
from
Spiraled out of
verbal to
control.
physical in just a very short period of time. Because if they had known, they would have informed AFSEC so that upon arrival, but it was still at the first level, which was just verbal. It just escalated quickly upon arrival.
But again, let's analyze the video. You could see that at some point the cabin crew was blocking
the door,
so that she doesn't come out. Was that appropriate?
I don't think that was necessary. I believe that shouldn't have happened at all. And I remember I've shared an experience. I had one time when a passenger was on board and I was securing the cabin and this man was using his phone as we were about to take off. I spoke to him and, he ignored me. So we sat down, took off. And after takeoff, I didn't even bother to go and meet him any longer. I just walked into the flight deck, told the flight deck. And I remember the captain saying, well, Tolu, I don't know what's going to happen, but I will put a call through to ATC. He told ATC. And I think that was one of the days I felt really proud being a cabin crew because the moment we landed Lagos and I opened the door, two officials, I don't even know whether they were from FAN, whether they're from AFSEC, because they were not wearing uniforms, just ran up the staircase and said, we heard you had a passenger who was misbehaving. Just when the passenger is going down, just point him out to us. So nobody really knew. My passengers didn't hear what was going on. Nobody knew what was going on. And when the guy was going out, he had an nylon bag and he did like this to me. And I just smiled and I just pointed to the people downstairs. That's your guy. And they whisked him away. They all entered the bus together and they took him away.
It was nice and professional,
Nobody knew that anything was going wrong. I didn't even expect that to happen, but I was actually happy that it played out that way. And like I said, I don't think she should have blocked when the lady, because we're looking at, fortunately, the lady, she got physical by pushing the cheek or what, However, she could have chosen to push her down the staircase.
And it would have been
it would be more serious. She could have probably injured herself in such a way that she might not even be able to fly again as a cabin crew. So these are some of the things that we need to do. I don't know who gave her the orders to make sure that a person doesn't get off the airplane.
I don't think
I believe that even if she had gotten off the airplane, you could have detailed a member of staff to follow her to make sure that AFSEC arrests her.
Bottom line, what is the procedure that the airline is following? Are the cabin crew really following the procedure that the airline has laid out for them? Maybe that's an issue we should be looking at. Has the airline got their own procedure? Has the cabin crew followed that procedure? Because aviation is highly regulated. It's the most regulated industry in the world. We are governed by procedures. We don't just do things with our church mind, Everything has to follow a procedure. So in that particular situation, maybe we should be asking, what's the procedure to handle that kind of a situation? Did the cabin crew follow the procedure? I have somebody who told me that the reason the cabin crew was trying to physically restrain the passenger from getting out by blocking the door is because she had orders from the pilot saying that the passenger should be held on board until security agents came. And that's because security agents didn't arrive on time. Maybe because the pilot didn't also call for the security agents on time. And as Tony said, it's possible that the situation changed drastically at the last minute, which prompted him to say, you know what, let's hold her down so that security agents can meet us. And that's why they made the call late.
Let me come in. Let me come in there.
Just like, go ahead, please.
There is a video that is circulating from the eyewitness account in the plane. Apparently, the passenger was seated at the emergency exit. And from what the person recounted, he said that this passenger was asked to turn off her phone twice by a different cabin crew who was seemingly nice to her. But she ignored the cabin crew. And so another cabin crew, which is this current one now, that has the issue with her, came and insisted that she turns off her phone. Now, what she said was that her phone, the turn-off button, is not functioning. And she does not know how to turn off the phone. And so the cabin crew went further to tell her to go to settings and then go to general, and they're trying to help her to turn off the phone. However, she completely ignored the cabin crew and said that she does not know how to, do that, and went further to say the cabin crew should spell, general. I would have been provoked if I was a cabin crew, honestly. Do you understand? Because I feel like that's going the extra mile. You're trying to push the cabin crew. And at some point, is it fair to say that the cabin crew too was pushed, by this passenger, even though cabin crew are trained to remain calm in every situation. But
pressure.
with what has happened, you're seated by emergency exit and you are giving instruction. See, every airline have their rules and regulations when it comes to if they want you to turn off your phone or put it on flight mode. But in this case, this airline wants you to turn off your phone. So you need to understand as a passenger that you have to follow instructions. Once you bought that ticket, you have to follow the instructions. Tony, sorry, you wanted to say something.
Just to add to what you're saying,
Yeah.
Again, we go back to the fact that what Mrs. D said, that you have to de-escalate. And then in aviation, we also simulate, scenarios and situations during training. So as a trained cabin crew, you can actually see that where this was leading to.
Yes, of course.
And if at that point you are getting triggered, perhaps you could have just called in a fellow other crew member to just handle the situation to de-escalate, because obviously the passenger is beginning now to want to trigger you.
Exactly.
And if you continue in that line, you will lose composure and your calmness
which
will
was
go.
what happened
in this case. So most times we are trained to always take time to step back out of situations that might just go escalate into an ugly scenario. So that's what I just wanted to chip in. But the cabin crew went on going with the passenger.
The passenger. Well,
the word there is trigger.
Trigger.
A lot of people have actually got a very short fuse. There's a degree to which you trigger and that fuse blows. As cabin crew, we are trained to be able to maintain your composure even in pressurized, under serious pressure such as that. But that's not to say that we're still not human beings.
Yes.
There's a limit to which you push somebody. And okay, let's go back to the Quam 1 issue. That captain was pushed to a point, and the captain said, "You know what? I'm moving these aircraft. Forget everything else. I need to move this aircraft."
Yes.
Time was of essence and all that. So, yes, we should be able to control ourselves to the best of our ability, because these triggers will always come. You're getting on board a flight, 100 plus passengers every other day. People who are coming on board are people from different cultures, diverse background, different status. Some of them come on board as though they had a vendetta to carry out on you. They just come on board trying to settle a score with you, and you're like, I don't even know this person. Why is this person addressing me this way? So you need to develop a thick skin for you to be able to handle this kind of a situation.
Yeah, I mean, talking about the procedures, I personally feel that as a cabin crew or ex-cabin crew, the proper procedure wasn't followed in this situation to, avoid, the passenger being exposed like that. I mean, look at it now. She was exposed to the entire world, if you can say that. And it's, those things you can't take back. You understand? And as much as we want to say that, well, maybe she started it all, but at the end of the day, I don't think that the passenger deserved, that kind of humiliation.
That way.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm actually wondering why there were no plastic restraints. We used to have plastic restraints on board.
Yes.
She could have been restrained.
Exactly.
And then personally for me, I think where the mistake probably started from was when she didn't turn off her phone at that point in time and she was sitting at an overwing exit.
Exactly.
For me, that's a risk. I would probably walk to the cockpit and say, "Captain, I have an issue. It looks like we might have to taxi back because I have somebody who I cannot trust to be able to open
The
overwing exit because she's not even following regulations right now.
Yes.
I'm asking her to switch off her phone. She's not complying. So those are things that if they probably had escalated it, then they could actually have offloaded her before even coming to Lagos.
Exactly.
Because that is why this thing degenerated into what it did at the end of the day.
So, but if a passenger is sitting at an overwing exit and is not complying to the regulations, is it not mandatory to change that passenger from the overwing exit?
has to leave that
It has, of course. I mean, from what we know, passenger has to leave.
So basically, I think communication is also very key
Yes.
in our line of duty as cabin crew. Just like Mrs. D said,
Yes.
even if you think that she's not that much as a threat, which she ended up being,
At the end of the day.
the cabin crew should have escalated to the captain, just for the flag there, for them just to be aware that such a person is on board, so they too can make informed decisions whether to taxi back or on ground, call for AFSEC or whatever the situation may be. But the whole scenario just shows that the flight deck was not carried through until when it just escalated
spiraled out of control.
and then they're looking for what to do at last minute.
Okay, this is what I have in my head. It's just my opinion. Anyways, this is what I have in my head that played out based on the eyewitness account and what has happened. She was told to turn off her phone by the friendly cabin crew, according to the eyewitness, and she refused. So the friendly cabin crew, this is the scenario I'm playing out now. The friendly cabin crew went to report to the superior, which is the purser.
Yeah.
Hence, the purser came to meet her because she wasn't there from the start to turn off her phone, knowing that this passenger is a potential problematic passenger. She stood there and insisted that she turns off her phone. The passenger refused and then decided to make her spell, make fun of her. Yeah, that for me, that was one trigger on one side. But then after a while, from what the eyewitness said, another passenger took the phone from her and tried to turn it off. Then the cabin crew left. I believe that at the point where the cabin crew left, she went to report to the flight deck. I want to believe so, because from how everything is playing out, they knew. So arriving on ground, the reason she blocked her from coming out of the aircraft must have been that she was given instruction not to let her out of the aircraft. I don't know.
That instruction, how she carried out instruction was faulty. Because
exactly.
If somebody say, the flight deck can say, please don't allow her to disembark.
Yes.
But not by physically blocking her. So imagine she carried an oxygen bottle and just hit it by the head.
Yes.
But it would have been difficult for her to stop her from going out without physically blocking the door, because let's assume the actual instruction was don't allow her get out. And she's trying to come together and you don't want to get physical. Then you won't be able to stop her from going out. She's going to shove you aside.
But that's
I would rather let her get
I would let her get off.
Exactly.
She's of more danger in the aircraft
than outside the aircraft. And again, we usually, then when we're flying, we had what is called PROK, passenger restraint kit, on board. I believe that all aircraft
the passenger restraint kit has got handcuffs in it and a few other
flexible
plastic handcuffs.
Handcuffs,
which you could use to restrain the person.
Exactly.
It even improvised with the seal for the...
yes. So imagine that, the part where they were literally yanking or dragging her out of the aircraft, it wouldn't have escalated to that point if she was handcuffed. If she was restrained, let me put it like that, restrained, it wouldn't have escalated because you would have controlled the mess in a large extent if the passenger is actually restrained. I feel that was...
My question is this. We only saw when they were dragging her out of the aircraft. When they came on board to ask her to come down, she wanted to come down, did they actually ask her or they just yanked her? Because nobody, there's a lot that we're not seeing.
There was a video with the calm cabin crew that she was friendly with was the one that she first assaulted. If you saw the video, it was one that she first hit where she ran forward to the purser. She hit that one first. Then that one ducked and went out of the way. Then the purser that just came in and said, drag her out. So so it started, but so we didn't see what happened in the cabin because again her wig was off. I don't know who pulled her wig off, and then she was kind of when she hit the purser, she was saying, "What did you do?" That and she was pointing to her wig. Like, so something happened in the cabin
that we haven't captured.
Before she now put her video to say she's refusing me to come down.
Okay, so...
But there's also another angle to it. Every passenger had disembarked and she was the only one left on the aircraft. I hear she stood up to go and use the restroom. And it was when she came back out of the bathroom that she picked up a fresh fight with the crew.
Again, going to SOP, once an aircraft,
has landed. Everyone disembarked.
You don't now allow
people to use the restroom.
Especially somebody that has created problems for you on board.
Exactly.
You say, I'm sorry, you can't use it. The rule is you can't use it. Please just go ahead on ground.
We in fact lock the bathroom
before landing.
Before landing,
we do that as well. So that means they didn't also follow procedure.
That was a bit of a breach on their side. Okay. But these things happen. I had a personal experience once where we had to offload the passenger. This was in Dakar, Senegal. When Libya still had war and a lot of Nigerians fled out of Libya. We're airlifting people from Nigerians from Dakar to Lagos. And we're ready to take off, taxiing, and this woman refused to accept, she had an infant. She refused to accept this infant seatbelt for for her infant. It's a no-no. You have an infant, we have to take responsibility if anything happens. So we must provide you with the necessary safety apparatus, which is at that point the infant seat belt, which you should use for. This woman vehemently refused to use infant seat belt. My crew reported to me. I went, had a word with her. She was adamant. Even the other passengers were, leave her alone. What is it? Do you know what we've been through? We are coming from Libya. Do you know what we've been through? It was none of my business. Safety first. I reported to the captain, my captain, a no-nonsense captain, taxied back to the ramp, called for security, and trust me, you need to see security agents in Dakar, in Senegal. I want to believe that they have a special requirement for you to be able to join any of the security outfits in that country. When they came on board, their presence alone made people behave themselves. This woman was taken out quietly from the aircraft. In fact, the people who were making noise and saying, leave us alone, everybody kept quiet with lips sealed by the time the security agents came on board. It was professionally done. You just love your job when things like that happen.
Very true.
I had a situation too when I was flying. This one was with a deportee. You know, they were being deported. There were two of them being deported back to Nigeria. And they made a lot of drama before they came on board. They handed them over and they were seated at the back, the very back rear seat. And these passengers decided they were going to make trouble because they wanted to get off the aircraft. They would rather be in prison where they were than be in prison in Nigeria. You understand? So they made a lot of trouble. In fact, one of them literally came out, you know, of his seat and decided to pee right there, you know. So what we did was the cabin crew gathered, of course, and restrained him with the PROK, the kit, passenger restraint kit that we had, and informed the captain immediately. Security personnel came on board because we're still on ground. You understand? Security personnel came on board and left them on handcuffs.
Put them in handcuffs and took them out?
No. So put them on handcuffs and put them in the seat.
Throughout the flight.
Because they were not going back and stayed in the seat. And they were calm until we got back. You know, so
the handcuffs,
the handcuff does something. It does something.
For, you know, being properly trained, because the way Comfort Embassy was handled by, I don't even know, are those guys AFSEC people? Because they were not wearing it. I can't even tell whether they are AFSEC or the way they handle Comfort on board and the way they dragged out her leg, one leg in the north, one leg in the south,
it was nice.
Not professional at all. So I think there should be some level of training for AFSEC official, and by extension, every stakeholder in the aviation industry. So I just wanted to point out that I think they needed prerequisite training or retraining to bring up their level, because aviation is global and we're dynamic and evolving. So our training techniques should be of international best practices.
Yes. Okay. Now we were in the aviation sector, and so we know some of the standard procedures that should be followed. But the public, the passengers, don't know this should serve as a level of an eye opener, exactly, and level of education to passengers. When you buy your ticket, know that there are rules that you have to follow. I don't know if
you can't even buy a ticket without accepting the terms and conditions of the airline.
Yes.
So the moment you buy a ticket for an airline and you are told to do something, you have already agreed that you are. Because you won't go forward when you're buying, whether you're buying a ticket online or when we used to buy, when you used to have handmade tickets or whatever the word was, the terms and conditions will be at the back of the ticket. Yes. Today, before you go forward, when you're booking a ticket online, you will have to tick and say, I agree to that. Yeah. And of course, most of us don't read it. Yes. But passengers need to know that when you come on board and you're asked to do one thing or the other, you won't win the fight when you choose not to, because you have agreed right from the beginning that you're following the terms and conditions. Yes. And that's something they need to know. I believe that we need to educate the public a lot more about the industry. And maybe that way we'll be able to, join forces to make sure that we have less incidents of this kind of disruption.
Passengers really need to be sensitized. Like Madam Tolu just said, upon purchase of the ticket, you are accepting all the terms and conditions that comes with, the procedures of that airline. And yes, it's service industry, it's hospitality industry. The moment you've parted with your money does not give you the right to say yes. Even though we know customer is king, but that does not mean that you won't follow procedures, because aviation is unique. Everything it has procedures. You don't just do things anyhow.
Yes.
So the moment you step on board that aircraft, you are obliged to carry out the rules, the regulations, safety procedures, anything the cabin crew tell you. A lot of people don't know. They just see cabin crew as, oh, they are there because they want to. They just need people to serve tea and coffee. Sadly, they have no idea the kind of rigorous training and scrutiny these people go through before they are certified and given that license that makes them a cabin crew. There's a lot of safety trainings that go behind. There's a lot of, I mean, we can't even exhaust all. There's so much that goes into it. So those cabin crew you see on every flight, they're trained professionals.
Yes,
you should treat them with
respect. Exactly,
even though they are there to make the flight safe and comfortable for you. By default, they are going to treat you with respect, but you should also reciprocate that respect to them.
True.
So this cannot be overemphasized, just like you said, Mrs. D also said. Once you purchase a ticket, you come into a contractual agreement with the airline. That means you accepted the terms and conditions for the airline. Because I hear a lot of people online say, if Comfort sues the airline, she will get a lot of money. How will she sue when she has already defaulted on the contractual agreement with which she purchased the ticket? So on get-go, she has already lost the case.
That's the lack of information we're talking about. People making such comments have absolutely no idea how the industry works.
So again, coming back to the contractual agreement that you've entered, a staff of the airline is instructing you to switch off your phone, which is by the rules of the airline. As a passenger, it behoves on you to comply, to just switch off your phone. If you can't switch off your phone, you don't know how to switch off your phone. Ask your co-passenger, somebody to help you. And then everybody is better for it. They have a smooth sailing flight. Like you said, there should be mutual respect for both the passenger
and the cabin crew.
And let's just remember that all these rules and regulations are for everybody's safety at the end of the day. It's not for no other reason. It's not because somebody wants to show power or what have you. It's basically to ensure that your flight takes off and lands at its destination safely and everybody goes home, because that's the most important thing for every one of us at the end of the day. Every time you enter a plane, it goes safely and you get off at the end of the day.
But permit me to bring this aspect to it. I heard this other part, people are saying that how come when they travel international, they are allowed to leave their phones, use Wi-Fi
or flight mode.
Even on international, you still need to switch it off for takeoff and landing. The Wi-Fi doesn't start working at that point. It's only when you are airborne. You know? So in this part of the country, or in this part of the world, if the airline says, I want you to switch it off, don't even turn it on at all.
Please do so. Yes. So please, it's important that passengers, the public now, respect cabin crew on board. And at the same time, cabin crew, I don't think any cabin crew will, in their own right mind, come and, disrespect a passenger if there was no reason to do so. So
the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, ICAO sets out the regulations. NCA enforces it in this environment. However, an airline can choose to have stricter regulations than the main standard is. So I can choose to say, okay, put your phone on flight mode. You can leave it on, or I can choose to say put it off. It's up to the airline to decide this is the way I want to run my things. So the best the passenger can do is, okay, if I want to travel and this airline says the phone must be switched off throughout, then I have to find somewhere else to travel with. That's it.
Well, okay.
I also think in one of the parting shot, I think the flight crew, which involves the flight deck crew and the cabin crew, should be celebrated in this part of the world because they operate in one of the harshest environments.
Yes, it's true.
So I think we should also give them some level of empathy, which should go both ways. But our environments are challenging. Everybody's already heated up even before they come to the aircraft. So, the environment is so, I don't want to say toxic, but so everybody should just just
the Nigerian
be
factor.
calming down.
Be calming down.
Anyways, it was. In all, we should all try to respect each other, which is very, very important. And for passengers out there, please respect cabin crew. They have been through a lot, even though this situation wasn't quite properly handled. But again, we're humans, and if we have respect for each other, we will not have situations escalate like this. And so we're coming to the closing of this podcast, which I actually enjoyed having this conversation with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mrs. D, Mr. Tony, the aviator, and then the speech coach. Thank you very much for coming on this program. Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.